It's that time once again. We're here in the beautiful San Fernando Valley and we're gonna go check some stuff out. But first, I wanna thank my newest Patreon supporters, Eli Efforts, Michael, Anthony DeGreat, and Derek Kane. Thank you so much for your support. If you want to support me on Patreon, go to patreon.com/80slife, or you can also support me on YouTube members. Just go to my YouTube page and click on join to get more information and become a member. Now, let's go see what we can find. Right now, I'm at Pierce College, and if you grew up in the San Fernando Valley, I'm sure you know Pierce College. This is the community college for the San Fernando Valley, and I've talked about Pierce College in a couple of my videos. I talked about the ditch that used to be a skating spot. I talked about the old Factory of Nightmares haunted house that used to be here. But the reason why we're here today is every month they have a vintage swap meet, and today it's taking place right over there on that end of the parking lot, and we're gonna go check it out. We used to actually come to this vintage swap meet all the time, and when we first started coming to this swap meet a couple of years ago, it was a lot less crowded and things were a lot cheaper. You could find some really cool stuff for just a couple of bucks, but since then the prices have got a lot higher and it's gotten really crowded. I think when I first started noticing people dressed like Billy Jack, that's when I knew that the swap meet was gonna get out of control. Now I'll give you a quick example of how prices have gone up. I own a New Kids on the Block doll, and the reason why I own this is we were walking around this swap meet a couple of years ago, and I saw the doll laying on a blanket, and I asked the guy, how much do you want for that? And he said 25 bucks. And I was like, okay, thanks. And we continued to walk around the swap meet, and then on our way out, I noticed the doll was still laying on the blanket, and I wanna say like maybe 15 or 20 minutes had passed. It's not like hours had gone by. And as we walked by, I said to the guy, hey, would you take 5 bucks for it? And he said, sure. Now, fast forward to the last time we were here, I wanna say 2 months ago, I saw a Spuds MacKenzie lamp, and this lamp was awesome and I really wanted it. So I went over to where the lamp was and I walked up to the lady and I said, excuse me, and she cut me off and said, Spuds MacKenzie, $350. And the thing is, afterwards, I Googled it and I looked on eBay and she really wasn't that far off. That's pretty close to what they were going for. So that shows you how much prices have gone up on this vintage stuff and really just on everything. But anyways, we're gonna head inside and see if we can find anything cool. So let's go. Wow, and we are off to a good start with an original Super Soaker 50. Definitely tempted to grab that. And what about these upper deck hats? These definitely bring me back to the 90s. And a Disney Channel jacket that appears to be from the 80s? Wow, some really cool stuff at this table. They also have a bunch of old cameras and radios, a bunch of different electronics. Man, look at this thing. And check out this radio. I think my aunt had this exact same radio. Now, these little dolls were just moving and doing some creepy stuff. Let me see if I can get them to go again. Maybe they're motion active. Okay, there we go. Anybody looking for a Young Guns 2 jean jacket? Here it is. They also have a vintage U2 shirt, a vintage Lakers shirt. You can always find lots of vintage t-shirts here at these flea markets. No shortage of that. A To Live and Die in LA poster, 75 bucks. Hope it's original. Or you could just go watch my filming locations video. Maybe you've been looking for some framed creepy doll heads. Well, you're in luck. They've got plenty right here. Oh my gosh, there's no end to the creepiness at this table. Alright, at least there's no more creepy doll heads. Oh, jeez. Hey, I remember these spirit balls. The head kind of moves around and talks, and those were really big back in the day. And check out this Frankenstein. This is really cool. Oh, what about this jacket? Oh, wow. And another Disney Channel jacket? I've never seen one here before, and now 2 in one day. Some vintage baseball cards baking in the hot sun. Got a Mark McGuire with the wood grain frame. I think that's what, 1987 if I remember right. Maybe you've been looking for an autographed Emilio Estevez picture made out to Hannah, or an autographed Johnny Carson picture made out to Hannah. Well, you're in luck. So we ended up not getting anything from the flea market this time, even though we did see a lot of cool stuff, but I was able to resist this time around. But before we leave, I wanted to come over here really quick and show you, this was that ditch that I was talking about. And I think I mentioned this ditch like in my first or second video, but I was just driving by really quick. So I wanted to walk over here and give you a close-up look. So this is that ditch. And I'm serious, like in the 80s, if you drove by here on any Saturday or Sunday, this ditch was packed with skaters from one end to the other. And I haven't seen anybody skating in this ditch since the 80s. I don't know if, well, I mean, obviously the water has something to do with that, but I doubt there's always water in here. I don't know if Pierce College just started cracking down on people skating in this ditch or what, but yeah, I have not seen anybody in this ditch since the 80s, but it was always packed with skaters, and I wish it still was. I wish someone would get in here and clean this out and start skating it again. Right across from Pierce College is the West Valley Occupational Center. Did any of you go to school here? My dad used to always encourage me to go to the West Valley Occupational Center, and unfortunately I let him down. I never did end up attending, but the weird thing is I was like 12 when he used to tell me that. So, I don't know, I guess he was trying to tell me something. He thought it was time for me to finally get a job and get out of the house. So in my last Valley video, I sat right here whining about how one of my childhood McDonald's was getting remodeled because it was the last 80s style McDonald's that I knew of. And I was just driving by and I noticed that it's been completely demolished. It no longer exists. So pretty soon there will be a new modern McDonald's here, and they're doing that with everything in this area. Right across the street, this car wash, this has been here as long as I've been alive, but they recently changed it. I don't know if they completely tore it down or just remodeled it, but it's now a newer looking car wash. And I just realized as I was standing here, this Carl's Jr. right behind me, I also used to go to this Carl's Jr. when I lived in this area, and there's something, or was something, pretty unique about this Carl's Jr. So if you come to the back, this is how you would order. You see right there is the menu. You would pull up to the menu, and then after you ordered, you would proceed to get your food. But when I first started coming here, there was no window right here. This was just a wall. So how did you get your food? Well, right over here, there used to be a dumbwaiter or a little elevator, and then right next to it, you can see where that panel is. There was a like a vacuum system where you would put the money in a tube and it would suck the money in, kind of like at a bank. And then a few minutes later, a tray would come down in the dumbwaiter and your food would be there along with a plastic cup with your change in it. Now the problem is they would always get your order wrong and you would have to go around to the front and go inside anyways to get your order. So it was a real pain in the butt. And you can actually see where they closed everything up. You can see where everything used to be. And then they added this drive-through window because I guess it was more convenient. So that was pretty unique, but that's all long gone now. Now I want to talk about this auto parts store down here really quick. It now just says auto parts, but for most of my life, this was a shop that rebuilt carburetors. Right here was the main part of the store in front, and then in back is where they would rebuild the carburetors. And I know all this because my Uncle Rudy worked at this shop, again, for most of my life. He rebuilt the carburetors and he delivered them. And then let me show you right across the street this pretty unique looking building. This used to be a store called Babytown, and it was featured in the movie Arthur 2, because in that movie Linda is pregnant, so Linda and Arthur come here to shop for a crib and a stroller and that kind of stuff. And I remember when my uncle still worked at the carburetor shop, I remember him coming over and telling us that on his lunch break, he walked across the street because they were filming a sequel to Arthur, and he met Dudley Moore, and he said that he was really nice and really short. But anyways, I just wanted to talk about this carburetor shop really quick because maybe some of you remember it, maybe some of you used to come here, and maybe some of you got helped by my Uncle Rudy. So let me take one last look at this lot, because the next time I come by, there's going to be a modern McDonald's sitting. Yes, hello. Hello, Mr. Construction Man. How you doing? Destroying my childhood. You don't even care. I'm just kidding. It's not his fault. So I wanted to stop and talk about this place a little bit more in detail. So my family only ever stayed at 3 motel hotels that I can remember. One was when I turned 7 and my parents took me to Marineland for my 7th birthday, and we stayed at a hotel because we were 30 miles from our house. The second time was when my family went to San Antonio, Texas, because my aunt was having brain surgery, and that was our only family vacation that we ever took. And the other time was when our house got burglarized and we didn't want to stay at our house, so we came and we stayed here at the Tarzana Inn. And what I remember about staying at this motel was when we were checking in, and this is actually the only thing I remember, is when we were checking in, they had VCRs for rent, and they convinced my dad to get a VCR, and he paid for this, and they handed it to him, and it came in this big red plastic container with a handle on it. And then we went up to our room, and I'm assuming we went and rented some videos. I don't remember that part, but that would make sense. So yeah, it's just a lot of times when I pass by this place, I remember renting that big bulky VCR. So thought I'd share that. I was just driving down Ventura Boulevard and noticed that the pizza cookery closed and the building's for sale. Now they had another location on Topanga Canyon next to the Tower Records and the Toys R Us. I think that location closed down too. Now what I remember most about this place was the low budget commercials that would come on late at night while I was watching TV. They would come on like every commercial break. As I sit here at this traffic light, I'm looking at this Jack in the Box right here. And I used to go to this Jack in the Box quite a bit when I lived here in the Valley, but I'm also thinking about an episode of Cops that took place right here in front of this Jack in the Box, where the police officers saw a car pass by with a man on the hood of the car, and then they ended up pulling the car over right in front of this Jack in the Box, and it turned out that it was a domestic dispute between the man and his girlfriend, and the man's name was Flacco. And anyways, yeah, that happened right there in front of that Jack in the Box. It's also making me think of all the stuff that I used to get from this Jack in the Box back then. At the time, they had a burger that I used to get all the time. Does anybody remember this? It was called the Colossus Burger.
It's the Colossus from Jack in the Box. 2 quarter-pound patties, 3 kinds of cheese, 8 pieces of bacon.
It was just a lot of beef and cheese and bacon, and that's it. And it was really good. I also used to like to get the spicy chicken sandwich. Anyways, all that stuff was really good, and it's gone now. Well, the spicy chicken's still there, but no more Colossus Burger. Right now, we are headed to Balboa and Parthenia because in my last live stream, one of my subscribers told me that Valley Skate and Surf closed down, and my heart broke. So I have to come over here and see if it's true. Not that I don't believe this person, you know, obviously they have no reason to lie to me, but I guess I'm hoping that maybe they were lying, or maybe they were mistaken or something. But I'm sure that what they said is true. But I have to see for myself, and we're gonna find out here in just a second. Oh my gosh. I mean, it's a smoke shop now. It's completely gone. Man, this really bums me out so much. So, yeah, I've talked about this shop quite a bit. This was Valley Skate and Surf, and this was probably the main skate shop that I went to growing up here in the Valley. I'd say in the 80s in the Valley, there was a couple of main skate shops. There was Valley Skate and Surf and Val Surf, and probably Safari Skate and Surf. So depending on what part of the Valley you lived in, and I went to all of those shops, but I think Valley Skate and Surf was the shop that I went to the most. And I think it was the first video that I ever posted to my channel was a skate demo that took place right here. Right here is where they had the ramp. And yeah, it always felt really good to know that this shop was still here all these years later. I think the shop was here since the 70s. It was originally, or I can't say originally, since I started going here, it was ran by a mother and daughter. And then I believe the story is Later on, a kid that worked here in the 90s, he bought the shop from them and he was the one running it. It was originally both of those stores right there, and then he sold one half of it to the massage place, and then now he sold the other half to the smoke shop. And like I said, it just always felt good to know that all of these years later, the shop was still here. Whenever I was in this area, whenever I would drive through this intersection, I would cut through the parking lot just to look and see the shop, because it brought back so many memories. So much of the stuff is gone now. This right here is now a Planet Fitness, which used to be a Thrifties, of course later became a Rite Aid. And then one of the things that is still here is right next to the Planet Fitness is the Plush Pocket Billiards, which has been there forever. Supposedly, like my parents told me, they used to hang out at that pool hall. So that's still here. I think that entire building though was Plush Pocket. I don't think one half of it was a ramen and sushi place. And then over on the very end of this shopping center was the H-Salt Fish and Chips that was used as Captain Hook Fish and Chips in Fast Times at Ridgemont High, but we'll talk about that in another video. But yeah, standing here looking at this right now, I'm completely heartbroken, but what are you gonna do? I just noticed on my way out of the shopping center, one of the signs is still here for Valley Skate and Surf. I wonder what's gonna happen to that sign. I need that.